Hey, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of hopefully many episodes of Wrestling with Game Dev. My name's Mike Hermann. I'm here with Tony. Tony, you want to introduce yourself?
I am Tony Giles. You may recognize me from the Phenomenally Retro podcast, which I host with WWE Hall of Famer AJ Styles, or possibly my Retro Wrestling Arcade podcast, which happens over on the Ring Classics app. On that show, I talk about and play some good, some bad, but I play wrestling video games for my sins. That's what I do. Yeah.
And we're gonna hopefully add a new one to your list that I'm gonna bring up here in a little bit that we talked about a little bit before we went on, which I didn't think. I think you didn't think it came out, but it did. And it's what a game it is! I played it very briefly, but we'll get to that when we start. Cool. Just to bring everybody along. So I thought it would be a good idea. Me and Tony met a couple, really maybe a month or two ago now at this point. Tony reached out to me to be on his podcast, Shameless Post, of a great interview we did there, and we really hit it off. So I pitched to him, hey, would you like to go on a memory lane journey with me and go through the game development process of RetroMania? And I've done a bunch of podcasts before, including Tony's recently, but I think we can do a longer format, kind of a documentary series here, and really dive in, see how the sausage was made with RetroMania, and just being that we're in the crazy world of wacky pro wrestling already, which just that alone, we'll have some stories of working with the wrestlers that I've come into encounter. I went into this completely blind, not knowing anything. And some interesting stuff about Tony you'll get to know. He's been on and off in this industry for years and years and years, really. So, but we both love wrestling games. We both love pro wrestling, and we think we can have a really cool conversation about the game development process of making a pro wrestling game. So, hence Wrestling with Game Dev. I'll kind of set the table a little bit. I knew nothing about game development up until 2011 is the first email I could find where this kind of started. The whole journey started. And I think on interviews, I might have lied on yours, Tony. I think I might have said like 2016, 2017. And I didn't even realize until going back through and prepping for this show that it was like 2011.
Wow.
I don't know. Do you remember that iPad game, WrestleFest, that came out?
I do.
I do. In the UK. But it was terrible. Yeah, it was bad. I think you should do a show on that as well.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah. So that was kind of like, I think my thumbnail on this is going to be Genesis because that's really the idea that came down. And I don't know, Tony, were you on any like other wrestling forums back in the day or back in?
No, I mean, I've always had a weird relationship with wrestling fans in that I am a wrestling fan, but I don't enjoy spending time with other wrestling fans because ultimately they drive me crazy, or they used to. Now I'm very different, but back in the day, I would spend a lot of time on wrestling news sites, but not necessarily forums. You know, I had a group of buddies that we would talk about wrestling, but I was mainly on like Lords of Pain and was it 1PW or something? I can't remember now, but I was on the sites looking for the news and the dirt, as opposed to actually on the forums.
Okay. Yeah, because mine was the Wrestling Legends forum. And in a minute, for anyone watching this on YouTube, hopefully we put out an audio version too. But we're just going to briefly, I used the Wayback Machine to pull up kind of the first post. We'll get to that in a minute. There's a couple things that come before that. But so I went in completely cold. My background, and I mentioned this, and I have a cheesy line now. I'm calling it cheesy. I use this on every time I first meet somebody and I start telling this story is, you know, my career is accounting and finance software. And my next line is, as exciting as that may sound, right? So it's kind of an icebreaker. It calms my nerves a little bit when I'm first doing an interview or something, but it's not that exciting, right? So hence the game development. And then my other favorite line is, you know, if you get creative in accounting, you end up in jail, right? So you need another you need another creative outlet. I needed another creative outlet for myself. So that's where, you know, game development. And I I always gravitated towards wrestling and wrestling games, and if you take a look at Tony's channel, you'll know there's some stinkers out there that have happened. But back in the earliest thing, so what I did is I went back and I looked to try to find my earliest kind of documentation that I was going to make a wrestling game. And I completely blanked, and this is going to be like an exclusive here on this because I completely forgot about this. But the original idea was called WrestleFest Revival. So right. I have, and we can put it on screen, that first email. So this is just for anyone who's watching the video can read through this. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but so there's another guy online. I blocked his name. We'll call him Joe. But I'm looking to the side here, but he had started this remake of WrestleFest. He was going to do the same thing I wanted to do, and he had posted on, and I'd asked you about what forums you were on. I was on the Wrestling Legends forums, was the forum I was on. And I found him, and I reached out to him. I said, hey, did you make any headway around this? And he didn't really do much, but I had already started. The only thing I couldn't find before that email was there's another guy named Wade, that is his real name, who works with me now on RetroMania. But we had thrown the idea, and we were ripping sprites from the original WrestleFest and stuff.
Oh, okay.
But AKA Joe and I were talking about like, hey, can you help program? And some interesting stuff in here is like there were some engines that I completely forgot existed. I don't know if we'll get into that here, but I had no idea even what to look at. All the coding I had done was database programming. So accounting data, finance systems, and things like that. So I really didn't know what I was doing, where to start. I mean, some in the internet wrestling community will claim I still don't know what I'm doing, which is fair.
Wrestling fans.
Yeah. Well, it's tough. Like you said, we are wrestling fans. So
we are wrestling fans.
We're critiquing ourselves, really.
It's true. I mean? We are a fickle bunch. I say this to AJ all the time. Even as wrestling fans, even working in the industry in some form or fashion, we still have the same complaints that everybody else does. Anyway, where are we? No, good. WrestleFest Revival. So we put up and I'm gonna make you skip around a bit, but if you go to the Wayback Machine, is the Wayback Machine from www.wrestlefestrevival.com. Now, I unfortunately didn't save any of the graphics or anything like that, but I have my first ever development journal, November 4th, 2011, the beginning. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool that this stuff kind of is kept in some form or another. And I have just, there's match modes, and I really, the first thing I did was document what WrestleFest was, the original game, what it was, 12 wrestlers, what game mode, Saturday night's main event, Royal Rumble. And the whole thought at this time, WrestleFest Revival, obviously a copyrighted name. Right. So
Okay. Yeah.
That was never an original title. This was before I wanted to do anything commercial. I was like, I don't know anything. I don't know what I'm doing. As I said before, let me do a fan game. And,
okay.
And let's just, because you see all the time, even nowadays, people are doing these remakes. People are modding like the N64 games. There's like a new.
Yeah,
there's a new one of those out almost every week, and they're awesome. Yes. So that was kind of my idea, being a child of the 80s, WrestleFest being my favorite game of all time. I wanted to do WrestleFest, revive WrestleFest.
Cool. Yeah. So awesome.
We put up a website. We'll save a little tidbit of what happened to that website for the next episode because we can go into that a little bit more. I think I shared that with you, Tony, before, but we'll go into that one next time. But so we put up this website. The first email I showed, I found Joe, who was on board right from the beginning. So the two of us started working on, RetroFest Revival, which I think I could say I gave FTR their name. I think they might have come across my website and then the Revival was formed. I don't know, maybe. Who knows?
You never know. Could be.
So we put up that website, and then I don't know, Tony, do you ever hear of Pro Wrestling X?
Yes, very much so. Yes.
Okay, so Pro Wrestling X, for those who don't know, it's out. I think it's in early access, still on Steam. Dave from Pro Wrestling X, I'm a subscriber. He used to put out, I think he might still do it. I'm not closely as following it. I believe the game's still in development, but he's another wrestling fan, right? And he said he's doing more than No Mercy kind of style of game. But he had this newsletter, the Pro Wrestling X newsletter. And I will read that if Tony, if you bring that one up real quick. Yeah. And just scroll to, I can do it now. I can scroll to the next page. Oh no, we'll get to two things here. So right down at the bottom there, we have Mike Hermann. We put Lewis's name in there, so he's going to be there. Maybe I'll edit this a little bit because I know we're not live yet. So I may cross that out. But want to make your wrestling games for you. And my opinion, they are going about the process in the right way. So we go through that, and that's how the first kind of public release of RetroMania, or not RetroMania, the first form of RetroMania, but the WrestleFest Revival was born.
Yeah.
And they put it out. We got some traction on our website. It was just a fan website, and people really gravitated to the idea. You know, the only thing it taught me, and the lesson I learned from the beginning, is the world's a big place, and you're going to find people that like the same thing you do. And like,
right,
wrestling games are a little bit of a niche market for video games. You know, you have the whole big video game thing, and then you have wrestling gamers. You know,
of course.
And the one thing I thought for us is we're underserved in this day and age. And Tony, you can tell, and just going through some of the games that you've done on your retro channel, there's a lot of stuff that came out in the past.
Yeah, there's a lot of games from the sort of around the time that you started having these ideas development. It was essentially like one or two games that were just churning out year after year, and they weren't good. They were not fun, and wrestling fans weren't catered for. And that's why I'm glad that we sit here today in 2026. Wrestling games have changed quite a lot, but I credit a lot of that to do with the popularity and success of RetroMania, because it did bring back that nostalgic feel. Exactly what you were trying to do. I truly believe you've accomplished. So it was a dark time in the wrestling video game landscape before RetroMania came along. So yeah, and so we have a handful of indie developers, and we're going to get in because it's a small world, and even the wrestling world is small. A lot of people know a lot of the same people, and I've kind of through the past, now, 15 years. This is like the 15th anniversary almost to the day, or we're about 2 months early, but of when this whole thing kicked off for me. But I've started like learning, getting my way around the wrestling industry a little bit, and the wrestling gaming industry, and it's small. There's not a lot of people, especially on the independent scene of wrestling games development, that have actually created and got to market a wrestling game. There's a bunch of projects that have started, but you got guys like Matt Dickey with all the Wrestling Empire stuff, which maybe we can coax him to come on and be a guest star on this, because I went back when I was going back and preparing. I have a correspondence between me and Matt back from like 2018, where I was picking his brain about stuff. And we had some interesting back and forth, similar to what we started with about the wrestling community, because I'll tell you, he's a solo guy. We won't dive into him right now, but he's a solo developer who really took a lot of criticism on the chin, but got through it. He's produced like a crazy number of games. The guy is super talented, does everything by himself. I can't imagine doing RetroMania by myself. Like, I did the least amount of work on the game outside of funding it. You know what I mean? But yeah. So the wrestling newsletter, that was Lesnar like 504. So they went on. Dave's a really good guy. I sat down. I think I did a podcast with him, and then I think it got deleted or something. Never got put up. I don't know what happened, but yeah, 2011, 15 years ago, is when
this journey started. And then the one other thing, that the game we kind of teased at the beginning in that wrestling newsletter, Dave mentioned. So to put some time on this, November 11th was Hulk Hogan's main event. Was hitting everything at this point, which was a Connect sensor exclusive. So, and it did not get reviewed well. I'm pretty sure, and it's funny. I thought I played this, but I'm not positive. Tony, I'm looking at you. You got to put this. You got to put this on your channel. You got to acquire Connect.
I remember having a Connect because every Xbox One had one.
Right.
I don't ever remember using it for anything because it wasn't great. I have no memory of that game whatsoever. That one, I don't know if it was a North American exclusive or what, but I have no memory. But just looking at the box art, I would avoid that one like the plague because that does not look like a good game. Could be wrong though.
Hey, maybe it's a hidden gem. Maybe hidden gems of the early 2010s.
Maybe. I don't think so, but maybe.
Oh, it's too funny. So that's how everything kind of got started. So the Wrestling Legends, the Wrestling Legends forums, the Wrestling Legends, the Gamers United kind of got us going, and then WrestleFest Revival. It was the first name of the game, the first website that I had up. So as we go through this whole process, we're going to learn. The name changes. I think at one time we had RetroFest, RetroMania is what we settled on, but there's a couple other ones I'll dig up as we go through this. But again, this is kind of ground zero, the genesis, where it started. And it was really an inkling or just an idea I had that, I found by posting in these online forums, other people were interested. Now, some other stuff that I think happened before what I just talked about. Wade, who I just mentioned, we had already started ripping sprite sheets. Right. So we were going through, and one thing, the one cool thing, I don't have it working yet. I do have, when we get to it, we're going to fast forward eventually to like 2017. But I found the first prototype of the game. So I got to get it working. And it has completely copywritten artwork in it. So obviously it won't be shared, but we can show footage of it.
We show footage. Yeah. Oh, very cool.
But I did find the first thing that I ever coded, and I'm trying to find the email where the developer I hired told me we're not using any of that. So it'll be interesting to see when we get to that point. But that's just a little teaser of what's to come. I have pretty much saved anything. One of the things I found in prepping for this is the cool thing about email now, like I use Gmail for like pretty much all my accounts. And I started that sometime in the early whenever Gmail came out, like 2000s, early 2000s. But it has a list of everything. And now with AI, it's really good at searching your past emails and referencing stuff from a previous email. So that's how I found this stuff. But I have all the emails of the history, basically, of all my correspondence with everybody I've talked to about RetroMania and who helped me and who gave me good advice and who gave me bad advice. Yeah. What I paid for some of this stuff. And I'm going to disclose to the point that I can, if for anyone developing their own game who's looking for help in certain ways, I'll go through and I'll be as transparent as I can with this of what I paid for help as we get through this. Who my first hires were, who were good hires, were bad hires, and going through that process. And hopefully, I'm a little behind and get surprise, and here's where the internet wrestling community will kill me again. Yeah, this guy takes forever to do anything, you know what I mean? So, but with that said, I have all this detail, and it's just a great resource. And I think a lot of lessons can be learned by any other independent game developers that are going through this process and building the game of their dreams, which is what I ended up doing. And it's perfect it's not perfect by any means, but it's a fun thing to play.
I mean, it's such a fun thing to me I am a dedicated lifelong gamer, not just wrestling games, all video games. I play games virtually every day, whether I'm capturing them for a project or a podcast or something. I just genuinely love playing video games. And when I first played RetroMania, I got hit with all the fields. And I was like, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I was late to the party. I was really late to the party. And I don't know why that is. I don't know why. Maybe it could have been a case of I was so burnt out on wrestling games that I didn't want to play another one and have my heart broken again. Because, we've spoken before about how great Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 is. That game came out decades ago. So if I'm talking to Mike back in 2011, would Mike in 2011 think that Mike in 2026, when he looks at what is accomplished, just as an overview of the game, would you actually say this is exactly the vision you had?
It's pretty close at this point.
Right.
It's pretty close. I mean, there's still things, and it's funny. People are, I don't want to spoil anything because there's some other stuff I looked at too, but I would say, what, we got pretty close to what I'm really proud of the final product. And as we're recording this, we're about to put out our latest patch for RetroMania.
Right.
And it's funny, again, game development, this is a perfect example of what we're going to talk about in this series is estimating time to completion. I know everyone gets frustrated, and I'm guilty of this as well, with games that I'm following and get delayed. Like anything, like GTA 6 is in the news right now, been delayed forever. And without going through the game development process, you don't understand all of the moving pieces and all of the QA that needs to be done. And Rockstar's in a great position because everybody's going to play that regardless.
Right.
You know what I mean? When you're doing your first game and, no one wants to hear your excuses. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
no.
We're working on our latest patch now, which we announced over a month ago, but we found bugs and there's no point in rushing it out at this point as this patch. But 2011, Mike was in for, didn't know what he was in for. I'll tell you that much. So
okay.
You don't know what you don't know, and I didn't know anything.
Do you think that actually helped you though? Do you think if you knew it was going to be such an uphill climb, you'd have been like, maybe I don't need to do this?
That's part of it. It's like that the 2011, the emails we just talked about was the first time like my name was attached to this project in a public way, even though it was a small way at this point. I don't know how many subscribers that wrestling newsletter had, but we got a bunch of traction. We had 20 to 50 people on the Wrestling Legends forums who were interested in what I was doing. We're getting a lot of views on those posts. So, it says something like just putting yourself out there, and, you're relatively new to podcasting, right? So, I mean, in the past, when did you start? Your first?
I've done podcasting and other stuff before in the past, but never a video podcast. Being on screen every week with someone of AJ's stature is I get a lot of hate mail, which is fine. I understand it. It doesn't really bother me because it's not real. So I kind of let it go. But I can imagine how daunting it must be because wrestling fans, again, not only are we a fickle bunch, but we want perfection every single time. And if you do not give us exactly what we are thinking, that's wrong. So it's good that you had positivity from the get-go.
Well, I think it was helpful that I started, I was on the Wrestling Legends forums, WrestleFest, specifically, not even that forum, specifically the WrestleFest sub forum. So I couldn't get traction in the WrestleFest sub forum of the Wrestling Legends forums. Like I'm talking to a bunch of people my age probably or right around there.
Yeah.
If they're not going to, I knew if they're not interested, no one's interested. You know what I mean?
This is my audience. If I can't get them.
If I can't hit a home run with these guys, and maybe a few girls, but.
Yes, I get it.
So, but putting yourself out there for the first time publicly, like I had never done that. I mean, I'm in the business world for my entire career, but it's like I'm dealing with one company, a handful of people. It's not out to the masses,
Yes, I get it.
And then as we gain steam over the years, it's just like the scrutiny and I hear you. I've gotten so many. And it's funny in prepping for this is going to be an episode itself. I'm just going to read verbatim what an email somebody sent me. Back in 2020, when we were about, 6 months overdue, for a release, and just the hate mail that came in, and you take it with a grain. It's tough though, like, and that's part of the process, you know. And speaking of another thing you just said, like, you're like a lifelong wrestling game fan, and you'd never heard of us until the past couple months, and that just shows to my inept ability to market. I mean, you know, like, if I can't find you, I'm doing something wrong on the marketing side. And that's another thing, you know, and we'll get to that point too, of just marketing and how I marketed RetroMania. But all in all, I would say at the end of the day, 2011 me is very proud of what 2026 me did. But it was a long road. It was a long 15-year road. Filled with mistakes, and if through this series of podcasts, if I can help, you know, people avoid some of the same mistakes that I made, and give you a little sneak peek into the development journey that I had, you know, that's why we're doing this, and obviously selfless or shameless self-promotion along the way. That's why we have a QR code in the bottom corner of the screen.
Right. But the thing is, it's all right. Like you said, like, oh, you know, if I hadn't reached you at this point, maybe I need to look at my marketing. I'm not a person that is on the internet that much. So I'm also older as well. So I'm not on the internet as much as, say, some younger folks are. So not finding the game at the start may have actually been a blessing in disguise for me, because by the time I actually got to the game, it was freaking perfect. And I'm not saying it wasn't when it launched, but for me, I got it straight away. I think I might have texted you and said, how do you do this? And you're like, oh, it's this. And as soon as I was like, oh, this is exactly like, and it was like off to the races, and then I'm like jumping on and I'm winning the title. And what I truly love about RetroMania is you don't have to spend hours playing it to do anything. I can play WWE 2K26 for literally an hour and a half and feel like I've accomplished nothing. And I don't enjoy that. I do not enjoy that. I want to play something and feel like I've done something, and you can do that with RetroMania. So from 2026, Tony, he wants to give 2011 Mike a big hug for what he's done, because he definitely put a smile on my face with RetroMania.
Yeah, I mean, I've really enjoyed the process. I appreciate those comments too, and I just knew that, you know, I thought there was an audience. I'm just glad I was proven correctly that there was an audience for this game, and you know, and just I think we as gamers, and specifically wrestling gamers, we need more options. And luckily, there's some in the works that I'm hoping come out. But look, 2022 or 2K series is a great wrestling, and you know, I mean, it's there's certain things you like, certain things you don't like, but they put a lot of time and money into that, and it's made by people that are passionate about it. You can tell. Like you know, you go through, and being on a much smaller team, it's easier for me to manage RetroMania versus the guys running the 2K development, which have hundreds of people working on it and keeping all those things in. But the thing that is really lost, I think, is we're an underserviced community. You know, WWE's probably selling close to 2 million units. So there's fans for wrestling games. Now, I'm nowhere near that.
Well, I mean, I would imagine that the AEW game is nowhere near that as well, and that was a big deal. So
yeah, but still, you know, you have AEW, you have WWE, you have me, you have Matt Dickey's games. Who else? I'm missing the ones that are out already.
See, this is the thing. It's even though you know,
Action Arcade Wrestling is the other one.
Action Arcade Wrestling. You know, it's for me, wrestling games now, and it isn't a criticism on 2K26, because I think a lot of sports games have fallen foul of this over the year, where they become too much like simulators and less like arcade fun. And games that take you out of everyday life, because we're not all wrestlers, we're not all hockey players or soccer players or football players or NASCAR drivers. I just want to have some fun. That's why Mario Kart is fun, because I'm a toad driving a car. Like, it's a fun thing. And as soon as you take that element away, it's kind of like, oh, a little bit too technical. When I
Right.
play a FromSoft game, I expect it to be tough. I don't expect that from 2K26. I want to be able to jump in and, I'm body slamming and I'm Irish whipping and all that. And then RetroMania, it gave me that instantly. Right. So, yeah, for me, that's the big difference. I think new wrestling games, the AEW game, not so much because that is more arcade fun, but the 2K26 games for me are just too simulation-esque,
right?
I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but it's great to have a variety, right, of both,
of course,
that you can get. But we need more. Like I remember when I was a kid, like you had like multiple WWE games out, and this is when WCW was a separate company. Multiple WCW games out in the same like year and a half span, and then you had like the one you had up. I think you have Power Move Pro Wrestling behind you somewhere.
Yeah, it's up here. Yep.
Yeah. So like
that's
it. So that was another PlayStation game, and WCW versus the World was roughly around that same time, and WWF, I want to say Warzone was around that time.
Warzone or Attitude, one of them. Yeah.
And it was like multiple wrestling games, multiple promotions, and if I can inspire anybody else to get into the wrestling game development, definitely like we need more games. So
right. Because this isn't about you being the only gun in town.
Right.
We want more wrestling games because we want to play them.
Yeah, exactly.
As much as we're talking about RetroMania and the story of RetroMania, we are degenerate game fans that love professional wrestling, and we want more wrestling games that are fun to play.
Right. Without a doubt.
So on this journey back in 2011 is where the impetus started for you. How I have not even a remote idea how game development even starts. Like I wouldn't know who to speak to first. With your, albeit limited knowledge of development from a software point of view, from your day job, did you have an idea of where to go to first to make the initial step?
So my background is software engineering. So I've taken I got my master's degree in it. So I had to go through and I built a game. There was a game, I think it was called Garage Game Engine. I gotta look that up at some point, but it was like before Unity. And this is, I think Unreal might have been around, but it wasn't the standard Unreal that everybody used today. You know what I mean? So I want to say it was called Garage Games or something like that. And they had like a prefab package that I used. And then I had to modify that source code to make changes to it to make a game my own kind of on that engine. So I had a little bit of an understanding. I knew C# had just kind of launched around that. Or maybe it was a couple of years before that, but it was somewhat new. I had books on, I knew I need to learn C++ and C were the languages, typically C++ to build a game in. And that was more of like in 2026, it's like, am I picking Unity or am I picking Unreal Engine? Are the two big ones. Now you have Godot, I think it's Godot. Maybe it's Godot. But there's those three. There's some other offshoots. Game Maker, what RetroMania was actually coded in. Game Maker. And there's a handful of other ones out there as well. So there's now in 2026, there's some engines you can start with and build from there. Right. 2011, there wasn't as much of that outside of Game Maker, which was early stages of Game Maker, which is what I ended up going with. But I thought originally I started with I need to learn C++. So I bought a book. If we remember what those are, right? I bought a book and I was like, C++ 101. I think I probably found some YouTube. Even at that point, YouTube's relatively young in 2011, but it was around.
Definitely. Yeah.
So I found people putting out tutorials on C, how to code C++ in 24 hours,
That's so cool. That is so cool.
So that's what I started with. And I just I did if you've ever developed anything, Hello World is the first thing you do. You make Hello World appear on screen.
Okay. Right.
So that's what Hello World is. It just means I wrote a line of code, print screen, opening parenthesis, beginning quotes, hello world, exclamation point, quotes, closing closing parenthesis, semicolon, run.
Right.
The screen says "Hello World."
Coding. There you go. It's as simple as that.
And that's where, and that's what I started with on C++. Now, granted, I at this point in my life, in 2011, I have about 10 years of, it's called SQL database coding underneath my belt. So I have experience coding, just not game development specific coding. So, and like I said, I think I completed my master's in like 2008, 2007 timeframe. So I had that under my belt. I took a class in C, was required at this point. Again, dating myself, that people, I don't even know if people will need to learn that at any point at this point in their life, but I'm sure it's still valuable. If you're doing like assembly, we weren't doing it in assembly, which is what the Nintendo and Game Boy were coded in, right? So C is that next level up, but I knew C a little bit, so I was learning C++, but again, all my stuff was coding and then numbers come down the screen, right? So it's coding and then numbers show up, and making financial reporting out of that data. That was the extent of, like, I had 10 years of experience in that, and that doesn't translate super well to coding a wrestling game.
Right. No, I can imagine. Yeah.
But at least I did have somewhat of groundwork. So I bought a book and I started coding. And we, I made a little bit of ground doing it that way. Not a ton, but it was enough to get my feet wet and go from there.
Very cool. That is very cool. That's because I have no frame of reference when it comes to game development. I know games take a long time to make.
Yeah.
And you can tell games that haven't taken a long time to make because they're not very good. I've played some very janky games via Steam that I've purchased real English money or dollars for, and they're not great. They're not great. They don't play well, or they're buggy, or this, that, and the other. So I know that taking the time, energy, and effort to make sure something is right does take time, and there will be delays, as we spoke about before. These things will happen, and yes, people will get upset, but I also believe that people will get more upset if you put something out there that's got bugs.
Yeah. Well, we have that too. When we get to the point of the day RetroMania launched, we can do a huge deep dive into this topic as well, of all the lessons learned.
Right.
It's gonna be this is a little bit different for me. It's like we're just focusing now on like 2011 for the most part, and it's so, like, this is bringing back a flood of memories of all the crap that we went through to get to 2026, and it's just. Luckily, time heals all wounds. So all that stuff, that happened in really 2021 when we launched, it was definitely worth the effort. So I would definitely, to go back to the question you actually asked, what would you say? Would you tell 2011 Mike to still do this? And I absolutely would. Like, I met, like, if not to sound cheesy, but we wouldn't be talking. We would never have met if I didn't start this game. You know what I mean? So it's like I've met so many people through making this game and the game development community. And I just started out, and to people who are starting their journey, the 2011 versions of me in 2026, it's a great ride. Enjoy it. You'll learn so much. The game development community, and really the reason why I wanted to do this podcast to begin with is to give back a little bit if I can, because so many people helped me along the way.
Very cool.
It's like, and people were so willing to help, and like I was able to reach out, ask questions, and almost everybody gets back to you. People want to see other people succeed in this community, and it's just been a great journey to go through. So 2011 me had no idea what he was doing, had no idea what he was in for, but it was definitely a worthwhile journey, and a worthwhile journey to start that.
I mean, 15 years is a long time for anything, but we're talking, this is an idea that you just had like man, wrestling games just aren't good anymore.
Yeah.
I want to, it's you and I on the show that we did. We were wrestling fans since we were kids. We were game fans since we were kids. I've never had the idea in my head to create a wrestling game. Never have, because I just literally would not know where to start. But you actually did it. That in itself is a pretty cool accomplishment for a wrestling fan, I would say.
Yeah, I'm proud. I am. I'll bury my inner Barry Horowitz. I'll do it again. Pat myself on the back, because I am proud of what we and I say we were able to accomplish, because I by no means did this by myself. Everyone that even talked to me and took time out of their day to give me a little push in the right direction and a little bit of encouragement helped make this a reality for me. And look, I still work in the accounting and finance industry, so I didn't quit my day job to do this. I didn't make a killing on this game at all, but it was 100% worthwhile. I would do it again, and it was just a great journey to, if now 2011 goes back to 1985 me and says you're going to make a video game, he'd be like, hell yeah, we're making a video game.
Yeah.
I just got WrestleMania on the NES and it sucks.
Yeah, it's true. It's very
we
true.
Do better than this piece of crap.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, even as children, we're like, we deserve better than this. This is not.
Oh man,
this
why
is
didn't
not
I
good.
pick pro wrestling? That's what I would tell 1985 me. Don't pick the license game. Pick pro wrestling.
Yeah, I recognize Hulk Hogan. Yes, it's a trap. Don't go for it. It's a trap. It's a trap. It really is. So, Wrestling Game Day, this is going to be an ongoing series where we're going to talk about the development, the history of the ins and outs, everything to do with RetroMania and the building of RetroSoft as a publishing studio. What do you have lined up in the next couple of episodes that you think would be fun to talk about? Because this has been great already. I'm like, when can we do episode 2? Because I want to know more.
Yeah, so we'll the next episode, we should really dive into. There's kind of phases of this game development, and you'll see there's actually a big event that we'll talk about next week, and I'll tease that for the next week's show that really ended the WrestleFest revival.
Right.
Part of this game, and then it goes dormant for a little bit before we make a comeback. So we'll dive into that, and then it starts getting, it goes to me coding the game by myself, to me making my first before that, me hiring a tutor, if you can believe that. I hire a tutor. We'll get into that. Okay. I reach out to anybody and everybody in the wrestling gaming industry, Matt Dickey, Dave Horn, both independent wrestling game developers, and trying to get as much information as I can. And, I reach out to hackers. All right. We'll save that for to help me rip existing sprites out of games as placeholder artwork so we can rapidly prototype a game, putting together a budget of how much this is going to cost. And I got to dig that up because I would love to share my original budget versus what I ended up spending on making this game, because that in itself is a story. So, I'm gonna take you through as much as I can, because there's some legal stuff that I don't want to expose myself too much to certain things that I can't. But for the most part, I'll be an open book. Definitely, we're gonna post this video. Leave questions and comments. Our goal is to maybe we start the next episode with any questions or comments that we get off of this one in comment sections. And we can kind of do that, keep that format going. And keep in mind, I threw this at Tony. He was gracious enough to say, yeah, I'd love to go on this journey with you. So we're going to kind of evolve this over time as we go, see what people like, see what people don't like. But I think if nothing else, we're here to try to take you on this journey and hopefully teach a few things of lessons learned that people can avoid in their own game dev journey.
Which is very cool. Wanting to give back and putting this out there as a documentary series for future game makers. I think that's very cool. For me as a fan, it's like, I have no interest in making games, but I would find this interesting.
Yep.
So, yeah, make sure you are following.
So at RetroSoft Studios is pretty much it everywhere. It's either at RetroSoft Studio or at RetroSoft Studios. I like how people always point somewhere, and a lot of times nothing ever comes up, which is probably what we'll do. But we'll put it in the description as well of this video. We'll hit I'm assuming people will find this initially on our X feed or our Instagram, which will put our YouTube channel, and we have a decent number of followers there, so people will find it that way, and hopefully we'll spread it word of mouth from there on out. Maybe I'll contract you guys to do another advertisement on your and AJ's podcast.
Yes, I will definitely be talking about this on my next episode. I can guarantee.
We can maybe I can do a little ad spend on there. I'm the first advertiser on the Phenomenally Retro podcast. So
you are. We always have a special place in our heart. Yeah, check out RetroMania, the video game. Check out the Phenomenally Retro podcast. Make sure you're following at RetroSoft Studios for all the information you need on retro wrestling and RetroFest and WrestleFest and everything to do with wrestling with game development. That's the place to be.